Hello there, and welcome to the Impact Zone. And we've got some breaking news that we're going to talk about here today as we talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And obviously, if you have not heard, the word, which is Masha slamovich, turned up in the crowd of NXT on their just this recent show this week. I believe it was Wednesday or Tuesday, is it? I'm not sure. Because we're in a different time zone here in Australia, so it's a bit different. But yes, she's turned up in the crowd watching a match there that there was going on between Cora Jade, I believe, the women's division. Doesn't say here. It said on the other one, didn't it? I'm trying to find the actual thing that says who they were. I don't know. I can't find it now, apparently. Terrible. Let's see. Nope. That's not the one. Trying to see if I can find it. It's very hard to find, apparently. Can't find it, despite trying to look. Nope, not finding. Am not finding, but apparently Cora Jade was saying something, and I bet that that's, someone who's like getting marked there a little bit by saying, she said something about it, her watching her match there, and yeah, that's a work obviously to get them in a match at some point. But this is big news. It's not just Masha Slamovich has turned up in NXT and maybe she's going to have a match with Cora Jade or whatever, all that, which is, big news in of itself. But, you have to look at saying, well, wait a minute. What does that mean? That means the WWE and TNA relationship is continuing into the new year. Now, again, perhaps unfortunately, in some ways, they're putting TNA on the third brand, which I get the idea is to perhaps promote NXT a little bit more in some forms, in some fashions. But it in lots of ways, it actually makes TNA look bad, or it makes it look third rate in a sense, or second rate in a sense, because, and I get that TNA is not as far up there as what WWE is, and they probably will never be. But like, if you start to paint somebody with a certain brush or something with a certain brush, then that comes through more and more and more. Like the idea that anyone, or not anyone, but the idea that anyone in TNA isn't as valuable as anyone that's in the NXT locker room. There isn't hardly anyone that's in that NXT locker room that I could say is bigger than any TNA star. There's a couple of people that are there that I could say are on par with some of the TNA stars, but I don't think any of them are bigger than any of the TNA stars. Maybe I'm missing one or two, maybe. I'm not sure because I can't remember exactly who's on the NXT roster, and sometimes people come into the roster and people come out of the roster or whatever. You get people that are from the main roster, Raw or SmackDown coming on, and I know, like, well, at least, like, they're not going on Speed. I don't even know if Speed's a thing anymore. or any of their other like B or C shows or whatever else it is. So I guess that they're up a couple of levels from the people that are just like being on Speed, if Speed's still a thing, or any of the other shows that WWE has. But again, I like lowering the expectations, I guess, is one thing to say, oh, well, we don't know what we're really doing yet. But again, I guess, again, it's one of those things that their plans, it also reveals their level of plans for TNA or for anything that they're going to do, is to say, well, we're just going to keep, sending you some of our guys that we don't really have anything for and haven't really made a big splash, and maybe they just need a little bit more exposure or a little bit more coaching or something else, or maybe we really don't care that much about them that much because they're not big enough for us to really be all that focused on, but you'll have to send us your absolute best talent for us to even consider like putting them on our like third-rate show. Like that's really bad. Like in some ways, I get it. It's one of those things, and they're obviously doing this for promotion. They're obviously doing this to promote TNA Genesis, but they're not just doing that to promote TNA Genesis. They're trying to do that to promote the ongoing relationship between WWE and TNA. So it's nice to see that the relationship in some form is continuing, because again, that's what's really helped. One of the things that has really helped TNA in the last few years is been this working relationship with WWE, by people going, oh, this thing, TNA, oh yeah, maybe we'll check it out. Plus, especially since I believe they're in Dallas, in the same sort of area, in the same sort of week that TNA is. And again, like, we can't forget that our first live show in 8 years is coming up this next week. Or not this week, but next week, rather. So that's a huge deal. We really have to try to promote that a lot, the live show as well, because that's important. Like, if it was a live show every single week, then it would be very different as well. But just having people realize, oh, this is a live show, it's not taped, there aren't spoilers for this show or any of that. Like, no, there's no spoilers for this show because it's live, pal. It's going to be live. Is the thing. We've really got to make people realize, oh, this next show is live. These next two shows are live, It's not just some show that was taped months ago or whatever it was. And again, like, we like anything that they can do to get that relationship stronger or whatever, even get like, and that's on Netflix. Like, this is the first one of 2025, and it's the first one on Netflix. So it's a big splash, not just for TNA, it's a big splash for NXT in some ways, to have this, not budding, but it's already been budding, but it's sort of still budding, sort of working relationship more so with TNA, and it's better for them because, again, like TNA, like, again, WWE gets the better side of this deal, no matter what. Even if TNA gets something, decent out of it, well, WWE's getting something way better out of it than what TNA's getting. But anyway, still, like, the fact is, you've got to look at the positives. Got to look at the positives. Like, anything that we can do, and that's what they're doing. Anything we can do to make this thing work in some ways, we should do it. Like, like, if WWE wants to work with us, why the bloody hell not? Like I was saying, like, it works out better for WWE because it helps their young talent, or their talent that they don't really have enough time for, or talent that they don't really, you can't teach them everything by telling them things. They've got to get out there, and they've got to get their face out there, and they've got to get those reps in the ring. You've got to experience it. You've got to feel it. You've got to, just go with the flow, and you've got to sort of learn, and it really takes a long time to really learn some of these things. Like, some people are very naturally charismatic, but it's sort of hard to exactly find the exact sort of pattern that will get you over to the point of saying, no, that's the best version of you. You need to keep that sort of version of you up as much as you can. Once you have gotten over, it is much easier to stay over and get something else over. But it is much harder to sort of get over that sort of like first real time, to be like, no, this person's going places. This person's got something. They've really got something, and they've got the right character, the right sort of catchphrases, and they've got a great amount of wrestling. Like Sol Ruka and Wendy Chu, they're really good wrestlers. And they've both sort of nailed into some sort of character in the last couple of years. And I know some people don't like the Wendy Chu spooky bollocks gimmick or whatever else it is, but again, it's one of those things. You've got to take your cream pies with your, black cats or whatever. I don't know, but no one complained about The Undertaker. The Undertaker was still a very much respected and over character, but apparently no one else can do or Kane still. People still love Kane, but no one else can do the spooky bollocks gimmick because it's spooky bollocks apparently now. But whatever, that's none of my business really in some ways, but I could start working on something about, the whole spooky bollocks behind people who tout that towards Rosemary or Decay. And yes, of course they have that in some regard, but again, it's not just spooky bollocks for spooky bollocks. It's they have a character that is a supernatural character, but what is that character? They've lost their mind. Why is that? Because they keep losing, or what is it? So there's still something somewhat human sort of there, something that you can still sort of relate to, because they still go through the same emotional range of anger and frustration and sorrow and joy and whatever else that, we go through, and that they go through, because they're still a entity that feels those sorts of things. But anyway, still, I wanted to come on and talk about the fact that this happened and, the implications thereof. Obviously, it seems like Cora Jade's going to be sent over for Masha to rip her head off, effectively. Not literally, of course, but yeah, there's no way somebody that's a barely known wrestler is going to especially like in this regard, is going to beat Masha Slamovich, who is and then some people might not know who the frick she is, but it's the more casual people, but from a outside of WWE perspective, she is like one of the bigger names that's outside WWE, besides maybe Jordan Grace and maybe Mercedes Moné and a few other people that are kind of out there that have a really big name, but they're from WWE, or she's from WWE. So I wouldn't put that out there, because again, that's not fair to sort of compare somebody that's had the WWE machine behind them, and even though they changed their name, it's like, well, whatever. Everyone knows who she is, and the marketing's really there for it. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to come on and talk about that, and we might have to talk about it more. We'll have to wait and see where this sort of thing goes. Unfortunately, as I sort of said, it sort of seems like it's not going anywhere new, really, so there won't be much more to say. There'll be just the same sort of thing to say about, yep, the WWE is still sending us a whole bunch of nobodies, and we're sending them our best people. And it's good for us to win matches against some WWE people, but, ain't no one cares because they're just ain't nobodies that ain't done nothing. So it's like, well, where's the build and drama there when they have nothing's really on the line because no one can, see past the fact that, this is a nobody, that hasn't done anything. Yes, they'll get their chance to sort of showcase themselves in a match, or in a feud, or whatever else it is, and whatnot. But it's going to be a real difficult situation because you're just going to lose, and then what are you going to do after that? But then again, you can still find something to do, certainly. But anyway, guys, hope you've enjoyed this one. Hope you will join me again in another one.